best of 5 as well. Obviously, a rematch from so many times, but most recently rematch from the lower bracket of the TSL 5, which was obviously turned out to be the Reynor victory, as he starts up as the blue Zerg in the bottom right-hand side of Submarine.
Yep, and on the opposite side, in the top left, is the red Zerg player playing for Team Ents. It's Serral.
So, talk to me a bit about Submarine. You know, ZvZ obviously actually does have a lot of map dependency nowadays with the chances to go mutas, the power of hatchery tech all-ins and so on. So what does Submarine kind of feel like going into ZvZ?
So, Submarine is a very, very short map, so it's not good for muta, unlike most of the other maps. And it also does have a creep that connects the main base to the natural. So 12 pull drone pull is probably very hard to hold on this map. I actually haven't faced it yet, but in theory it should be almost impossible with normal hatch gas pool. So we already see both players mind gaming a little bit here, because we also saw Serral being cheeky with some 12 pull in the TSL.
Mm-hmm.
And both are just playing super safe and going pool first here, which is already funny to see.
Yeah, just ultimate respect for each other, or lack of belief that the other guy's just going to play the honest straight up macro, and that kind of leads you to this mirrored opener until Reynor still commits through to the 6 Zerg lanes here. Serral will not. Serral doesn't build any lings at all. So that's going to be Serral on a worker advantage. These 6 lings are going to be tough to really do anything with, especially if Serral sees them. Now he can start up lings of his own with the next few bits of lava. He'll have a queen, and this shouldn't really get too much done for the worker disadvantage he takes.
Yeah, and we see the disadvantage being mainly reflected in the gas income. Reynor had to delay his gas a little bit, so he wouldn't lose any mineral income because of it. So now Serral will have a fairly early Zergling speed in comparison to Reynor's.
Yeah, he's going to get up and he's going to get a drone to begin with, so that's a pretty good start as the dancing continues. I mean, he basically loses a drone for not having to build 6 lings, right? Instead, he just builds 2 lings, so... And, you know, that's not so bad. And you just mentioned it, right? Much faster ling speed here from Serral. So that's going to give him a much better time going up to 3 bases and make Reynor's life a little bit tougher, and maybe even allow Serral to be a bit more aggressive off the ling bane in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think both players are not familiar with this situation. I don't think in the last year or so I have played a single game where it went pool first versus pool first. And I think neither have they. So Serral right now is not sure if his opponent went for gas pool hatch or just a normal pool without a gas. So Serral didn't know so far what this was. So now he's scouting. He also knows that Reynor knows exactly what's going on. And they're actually both playing... Reynor is playing fake 2 base. Oh, and Serral actually falls for it and cancels the baning nest. Oh, that's massive. Whereas Reynor is just ling bane all-inning with a fake 2 base.
Yeah, he's putting his Evo chambers up. He's like, yeah, look at me, about to start up roaches and stuff. But his bane nest is in the main, and he did start the roach roaring. But yeah, a lot of lings being made. They're going to be kept back until ling speed is ready. Until he just continues to sell this idea as Serral comes in, we'll still not get that information. Serral starts at +1 missiles, and he's going to be in a world of trouble when this ling bane attack hits across the map, because there are still just more lings being made. And Serral, he's going to see this now. This is his first warning of this. Basically has to set up into a full wall off, but that will at least mean he has to cancel the 3rd base.
Yeah, however, if he holds this, he cancels the 3rd base right away, by the way. As long as he holds this, he should be fine. Now, the fact that he canceled the baning nest is not good for him, but this looks like a map that's relatively easy to wall and also re-wall. So he already is getting a 2nd layer of a wall done. I would have even preferred seeing a full wall behind the queen there to make it extra safe, and the roach point is already done. So we'll see if Reynor even commits to this anymore, since he started joining himself and started an upgrade now.
Yeah, just going to be at this point now, right? You're just very far behind as Reynor. You're behind the upgrade. You're going to be... Okay, you get the 3rd hatchery advantage, but a 3rd hatchery advantage while still being down on drones very significantly, right? And Serral, he has a lot of money to spend, so if he spends that all on roaches and starts to move across with a +1 attack timing, that could be kind of scary, but he is having the lair as well, so he's not looking to really all in. He will just get roach speed started up, but it means he can also go straight into +2 missiles and keep that upgrade lead going for a bit longer in the game too.
Yeah, for sure. He can decide right now on which of these paths he wants to take his advantage to. Basically, as you said, like it's going to be reflected in his supply very shortly. Right now, he's a little bit of a supply block, but he will have more army, and he still has more economy as his opponent. So either he will continue the tag path into the normal +2/+1, which he would also be ahead in, or he could try and go for a little bit of a pressure. I don't think he's going to actually all in, but yeah, he's going actually for a +2/+1, which I like, a solid follow-up. Where usually you just continue with the advantages that you already have.
So yeah, Serral just going to put himself in this position where he's, I mean, just continue to be in a huge lead in this game. So what does Reynor really do here? Is there like a way back in this? Does he really have to rely on mistakes? Is there like, is he better off like trying to attack his +1 finishes or something versus just trying to macro up? What's his best alternative to this position now? As he will maybe get the 3rd base again, which at least keeps Serral on 2 bases for a lot longer.
Yeah, that's a really good start. That's not supposed to happen. Serral was just a little bit out of position there, maybe focusing on his own Zerglings on the other side. But usually, if you're behind, you have two things that you can do. One is to either completely forgo going for units and just pray to God that your opponent is never going to attack, and then catch up that way in a greedy way, or you overproduce units and hope your opponent attacks into you. That's the one that Reynor went for. He hoped to put Serral into an all-in position with sacrificing his slings for counterattack damage, and then meanwhile he just messed units of 41 drones. Sadly, that's not the correct call here, as we know, because we know that Serral continued his upgrades and is already at 50 workers, which, even though he's on 2 base, those are mining more than Reynor is mining off of his 40 drones.
Yeah, Reynor's barely putting any use to his 3rd base at all, and he's going to start adding a drone now, right? You saw the lair just, started up not so long ago from Reynor, and that's the same sort of idea, right? It's like, he didn't build anything, he just massed units, and then it didn't really come out to anything. He didn't need those units, and now getting supply block 2, you just have more overlords coming out, so it's not going to be a long supply block or anything along those lines. But Serral's also about to be on +2/+1, and is there like a certain supply you kind of wait for here as Serral to attack? Is he still maybe a bit afraid of, some counters on the 3rd? I guess not, he's cleaned out the lings, but when does Serral decide, okay, this is the time where I move across and I start a fight here?
Usually I would have said now. The thing is, I don't think Serral knows exactly in what kind of position he is in, because he never actually saw Reynor morph Banelings. So he might think that this was just a Zergling pressure build.
Right.
In which case he wouldn't be as far ahead. Like, that was a good call by Reynor to see, okay, I could have done nothing there. I'm not even going to show my opponent the fact that I did go for the Baneling all-in even. So he's actually just going for droning up a little bit more, and he even went for Overlord speed. Now, he with his Overlords, he did see the army of Reynor, so he should know approximately how big it is. Oh, he finds Ravagers off guard.
This is really nice. Gets 2 Ravagers to start this off. Fantastic start for Serral. He obviously still has plenty of corrosive bars of his own, and he's actually going to get the hits as well. Reynor doesn't micro out of those. I mean, Reynor's trying to bring a Spine Crawl into this fight, which, in fairness, he probably needs. But now the Lings of Serral in the natural expansion as well, so they are going to go and pick off all of these drones, and he's still winning the fight at the front. And Serral takes that early game advantage, runs through with it, and will take it to an actual victory to wrap up game number 1.
You can't really move out against Muta, so if you get up to Muta, it's a good Muta map. However, it seems a little bit risky.
Yeah, I actually can't believe this double gas, rich Vespene gas. It's that seems like madness, right? I mean, because it doesn't even, eventually say you just expand down the left side. I know it's like a bit more forward. I know there's like low ground behind the mineral line, but like, it's not that ridiculous a base to take, right? Like, I don't know. Like, yes, you're not going to get it every game, but I feel like there's going to be some games where we see that taken and people are going to like look at each other and be like, why the hell is he getting so much gas? Yeah.
Where are all these icons coming from?
Yeah, Protoss are just like, Protoss get to this base and suddenly like all their zealots just like actually just transform into Archons. They're like mid-charge and suddenly there's just an Archon like running into your road. You're like, where the hell did this come from? It's like double rich Vespene.
Yeah.
Okay, well, game number 2 of this one, obviously, Reynor's your blue Zerg bottom right, Serral red Zerg top left-hand side, and Serral takes the 1-0 lead. I think Serral really comes into this event knowing Serral a little bit with something to prove for once, right? Because I know, like, we kind of, as much as we kind of talk about this all the time, like, Serral, you know, shown he's still got it kind of a little bit this year. This time he really did flop in TSL 5, right? Like, he really had the worst result he's probably had in like 2 years. And I think coming into this, it really means that, you know, he's got to show something, right? He's got to, like, he doesn't have to, right? But I think in his mind, you know, Serral's that competitive player. He wants to prove to everyone, he wants to make all these people like, Serral's washed up, he's never going to win anything again. He wants to make them shut up and probably just come straight out and win this. And especially the chance to fight Reynor now, right? Where this is a series where Reynor knocked him out of TSL 5 too, so it's got that extra little bit of emotion in it. I think it makes this a very cool match.
It definitely is a great storyline, and I'm completely with you. I do also think that Serral doesn't take this lightly. Like, if you actually have a bad tournament result and people start trash talking you, you want to shut these people up.
Yeah.
As quickly as possible, so this doesn't haunt you for too long.
Yep. It's a good opportunity, right? It's like a couple weeks later. It doesn't have to wait too long for the chance. Just has to deliver now. I mean, it's like a double whammy in this group as well, because he could also play against Zest, and then he's like, you know, I'm also going to show you can beat the guy that knocked me out of Katowice, right? So, some real chances for Serral in this group in terms of storylines, as Reynor completely bypasses that Ling speed to go into a super quick lair.
Two-base lair. Probably one of the better maps for it. It's not super short, but you can actually wall with 2 buildings, so it's a nice map where you really only need the 2 buildings to completely deny scouting, and that's also the only thing that you want to show if you go to base lair. Now the roach run is a little bit late, but I'm still expecting it to go down for Reynor.
Yep, it doesn't really make sense to do anything else, right? Like,
yeah, like even if you go 2 base mirror, you still need to have that roach run at the front. And he goes into the +1 missile. Probably quick roach speed. Serral actually went for a response where he cancelled his own Ling speed and went for a fast wall. This might seem a little bit greedy, but if your opponent goes for a speed behind that wall, you just sacrifice the 3rd base and it kind of evens out.
Okay. Yeah, I always wondered about that, right? Because there is that build where you wall off and then you like take the late gas or the late speed, and then you kind of fake out your opponent, so it just evens out if you get that 3rd base kill.
Yeah, it kind of switches the position where the one guy has faster tech, like Serral, for example, in this case, if the other guy went for Zugling speed and then has a faster upgrade and earlier gas timings, but the other guy has a faster 3rd base, so it completely swaps the positions.
Yeah, it's just like a reversal, because obviously you invest into the Link speed. Makes a lot of sense. There's a Spire behind this Roach opener from Reynor, so he's going to go, Roaches into the Mutalisks if he can get away with it. I mean, at the moment, hasn't built a single Roach. Is there any world where he cancels these upgrades if he feels he doesn't need them?
I don't think so. I think this is a Muta into Roach, either a timing or he just wants the Mutas for map control, and then obviously usually Mutas in direct fights are not that great if you want to go into your own Roaches, but the advantage of them are that you can clear out all the Overlords. There's also a build actually that Serral lost already twice against a long time ago. That's one of the ones that I robbed him with. That was Austin, where I opened exactly like Reynor opened now. Roach, Muta, very greedy, and then I went into a fast Lurker timing. However, that was when the Lurkers had one more range.
Yeah.
And there were no upgrades yet. And he also lost, I think even Reynor beat him with that as well, so.
Serral gets the scout though, so he gets to see the Spire and obviously still sees the upgrades ticking along as well, so really good information from Serral, because now he can start to pull his Overlords back, and that's already a big loss from Reynor. Yes, you're going to still take the map control away, but you're not going to make it cost quite as much for Serral to, lose that map control, basically. So it's one of the advantages of the Mutas that will fall apart there, and obviously Serral starts an extra round of Queens to really make sure he can deal with this. One of the scenarios where you don't really want to build much else than like a Spawper base and Queens. He's going to go Hydro Den as well. Is that workable, or does this die to like a big Roach timing?
No, I think it's alright. Like if you think about how many resources your opponent spends into the Spire tech, that's going to be like 200 for the Spire, and then an extra 600 for the Mutas. If you just spend the same on the defenses plus the actual Hydras that you get, you're going to end up with a better army than your opponent. So as long as you're in position, I think this is a good call.
Alright, well, the Mutas, the first few are just heading down the left, kind of splitting up in different directions, right? Looking for those Overlords, which, well, aren't really on the map. Serral has one Overseer, which he was perhaps trying to get into the main base to scout as well, just to have some extra information, hoping he could sneak it down the right, but that's where Reynor did send the Overlords to look for, and Serral's just going to go straight to the Lurker Den as well, so will indeed end up on that much better army on the ground eventually. just has to make sure that these meters don't get too much done to slow him down along the way of getting there.
And yeah, I mean, Serral is embracing the fact that he feels very safe, so he gets up all the tech, whereas Reynor is just getting this roach, the roach upgrades and the roaches. And this reminds me a lot of how we used to play against Serral, just play Muta and then hope and pray to God that we're gonna catch him out of position. Because we know that if we actually accept to go into late game, that he's gonna be favored against us. I think Reynor doesn't quite feel that way anymore, because we saw him go toe-to-toe with Serral at least a couple of times, but that's what this game is going to end up being, I think.
Well, as our look then from Serral finished, and we just see the extra +2 missiles and carapace is going to be done soon from Reynor. And again, definitely feels like a bit tough for Reynor already, right? With lurkers already making it onto the map. You know, he's going to have, like, initially on the lower lurker counts, right, the Ravagers work okay. You know, you can cross the bars and the lurkers have to dodge a bit, but the more lurkers that come out, the more it becomes, like, you know, a necessity almost for Reynor to change up this composition a bit and to add something to really fight against those lurkers properly.
Yeah, the reason you usually don't see lurkers that early is because if you don't go Muta, the Roach player will just have more stuff than the other guy, so he will get the map control, and then usually the non-lurker player gets a way earlier hive and starts getting Vipers. Whereas in this scenario, Serral actually has the earlier hive himself, so as long as he's not completely out of position, which he kind of is right now, to be honest.
Yeah, he is. These Roaches and Ravagers are going to run into the third base already, and Serral doesn't have a lot to really fight this, especially because he's only got a couple Hydras in the back here versus all those Ravagers, and of course Corrosive Files are fantastic in these sort of fights, and Hydras are even popping into the front line, so they go down really quickly. The Lurker gets taken down too, and he finally gets one more Lurker in position, but one Lurker is not quite going to cut it. I mean, Reynor kind of sees that as well. He's being very careful backing away as Serral's going to pause up for a little bit of lag. And hopefully that's it's obviously a bit of an awkward time to pause. Hopefully it doesn't have too much of an effect going on from here.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have the best internet connection in the woods in Finland, but...
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Reynor, obviously, that was the moment, right? You jump in there, there's no units in position, so he actually gets past the initial choke point. Then you're kind of in the choke as Serral, you know, with your hatchery on the edge of the, you know, the fauna or whatever, or the flora. And then all of a sudden, you're just kind of, you know, one lurker doesn't really hold that position at all, so... A little tough for Serral, has to dodge away with the lurker here, and this time he is in a bit of a better spot, and so Reynor backs away immediately. But overall, Reynor's now maxed out and going to keep this pressure up, while behind us going into Hive and more of an answer.
Yeah, no, this trade overall was pretty good for Reynor, but the reason this supply is so low right now for Serral is mainly the fact that he did tech up very fast, so Reynor does need to do something, and Serral actually went for the decision of completely giving up the base, while he also lost the other one. So he's going back to 2 bases right now.
Yeah, this is brutal. He's just lost bases on either side of the map, and well, the problem is you just can't move across the map and be like, oh, well, you know, I've killed some units here and I can go across and maybe deal some damage myself, because he kind of didn't. Like, maybe a few roaches, but nothing that Reynor can't afford. Reynor on a good work account, you know, he's very ready to just rebuild, and I mean, Serral's just trying to tech up on the lurkers, so I guess he's just going to have to sit back, play this very slowly from here, but Reynor has all the advantages right now.
Yeah, this is a very good position for Reynor. This reminds me a little bit of their game on Cerulean Fall in the first final that they ever played against each other in Montreal, where Reynor also went Muta and then into Roach Ravager, caught him off position, and Serral went back to 2 bases, and then he crawled his way back slowly but surely. But since then, Reynor has been improving a lot. So let's see if Reynor can close it out this time, because he's actually not even behind in upgrades. He's actually ahead by 1 carapace upgrade, and he has +3/+2 on the way.
Yeah, he's going all out on the upgrades now that his hive is up, and he's also getting an answer to these lurkers in the form of the Vipers, so you can Blinding Cloud or you can Abduct, right? Either way gives you either kills on the lurkers or potential to push into lurker positions. As 2 lurkers on the left side get seen moving out, he won't quite catch them to get the kills. They will just burrow up here. Serral is setting up a bit of a surround on this army, so he's gonna have it pinned in, but he needs to time this out with pretty much everything else. The lurker's coming in from the right side too, and Reynor's gonna be forced into a fight. Serral maybe needs to bring the rest of his lurkers into this. So this is, I mean, this is the fight that Serral's dreaming of. He catches these Ravagers all forced into the corner. And he gets 12 drones on the other side of the map at the same time too, by the way, so a better moment from Serral.
Yeah, and now he feels like he has an opportunity to actually attack. Now, we obviously know that Reynor is still maxed out, but it is with mostly roaches.
Yeah.
So even just moving out and making him build roaches instead of possible hydras is a good move. Now, I would love to see Serral start up his additional upgrades, because I think that's the one thing that is lacking right now. But yeah, to go back to that fight for a little bit, Reynor did not really judge that situation correctly. He could have just kited towards the army that was the initial flank, like the roaches and the one lurker. He had way more than that, so if he just jumped on that, it would have been a great fight for him, but instead he got baited in and perfectly surrounded.
Well, Serral's going to try and hold this position, which is what Reynor will take the rocks down for. A single corrosive bile over the wall, as we do just see the roach attack on the right side. Well, Reynor actually has some bird roaches here. They're going to pop up into this, and Serral is going to get his roaches cut in half, so he'll lose a couple, he'll send a few through. He actually might still get some harassment with this, because Reynor's roaches do stop chasing, so this might actually not be so bad. He loses 3 lurkers on the left side, make that 2, sorry. The last one didn't quite go over the wall, now 2 more get abducted. And that's obviously a major problem, losing the lurkers, because they're meant to hold the position here. Serral can't fight straight up. He's down on upgrades, he's down on just army. He needs the lurkers, and right now he does not have the lurkers. In this fight on the right side, he'll only have 1 at most.
Yeah, I mean, Serral just didn't have the gas income to produce his own Vipers and contest his opponents, so at this point, as long as Reynor trades evenly, which he's even taking better and better fights here, he will close this game out. GG.
Alright, we go to 1-1, tied up in this best of 5, the excitement. And it really was from that point, Reynor was just not going to make a big enough mistake to let Serral back in. And again, at points it was a little scary, but the advantage he had was just monumental. And that's what allowed Reynor, our red circle in the top right, to take the second game. Tying us up 1-1 against Serral. As this rivalry continues here in the HomeStory Cup number 2, round of 16, Group D. Our first match of this group, in fact.
Yeah, really cool to see that those two actually always have close games nowadays. Back in the day, it sometimes used to be a stomp in Serral's favor, but not anymore. The series kind of always delivers.
Yeah, right. Sometimes it was like you never knew what it was going to be. Like sometimes it was like 4-3 epic finals, and the next time it's like, oh, Serral's just like 3-0. It's like I don't lose to you. It was just a one-off. And then Reynor like bounced back. He's like, oh no, I'm going to put up a real fight, and it's really epic again. And then it was like, no, it's once again one-sided. But yeah, this really has been the series which delivered a few times in a row now, across a few different events at this point. I mean, we only won 1 here, but great games so far, close games, and obviously we're guaranteed 4 maps, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, they actually went they both went gas before pool, which is relatively greedy on this map. Now we did figure out a response to the normal 12 pool drone pool, which I'm not sure if you saw it, but we basically
The wall off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. However, there is a counter to it. He has 5 out of 3 in gas. Okay, that's a little bit of a mistake. There is a little bit of a counter to this, where you just sneak out a drone earlier before your drones and your links arrive to block that wall off. Okay. So there's some 12 pool drone pool mind games. So going gas first is not entirely safe, but both players calling each other out this time that they're not gonna 12 pool drone pool.
Yep, which means we will just get a hatch gas pool opening each, and no player taking a slight advantage, right? If one of them had maybe opened a little bit more safely, then obviously the guy that, takes the risk gets ahead then. So it's going to work out into a nice even early game, and of course we wait to see where we go from here, because we've had a couple different early games so far. That very fast low on Death Aura in the last game from Reynor. We had a link speed cancel in the first game as well, and faking the 2 base, and then not the link speed cancel, sorry, the faking out the link speed, right? And then actually going into it and Ling Bane all in. So yeah, it's been a couple of interesting openers, lots of mind games, and it feels like ZvZ at this high level really does come down to that a lot, because you got to try and find advantages wherever you can, and just playing straight up regular can obviously give your opponent a very easy setup right from the start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Reynor be the aggressor with a Ling pressure here, because he actually took his gas slightly earlier than usual. So usually you rally your drone to the gas, the 18th drone that you make, and he actually before that already took his gas. So his speed is going to finish up a little bit before Serral's, so he's going to try to put a little bit of pressure on Serral's third base, nothing super committed, but hoping to force an overreaction, and if Serral slips up, a potential kill on the third hatchery.
Lings from Reynor going to run through. Serral sees the few lings coming. Now Serral will start his first couple defensive banelings. And obviously this will be a little bit of damage on the hatch before Serral starts to get over there to properly defend it. But he's up 6 workers, so that's his advantage at the moment. But a few lings of Reynor into the main, and that just adds to the complication because there's no queen in the main. This is just drones to fight this. Serral has to send some units over there, get his Banes to fight on the third. Obviously, the idea is as well, right? If Serral has to start looking in multiple places, more likely to make a slip up with the Banelings or just on this third base in general. Like, Reynor continue to move around here, though. He's actually going to get some more lings out towards the main. He just gets away before the Banelings become a problem with him getting out.
Yeah, that was actually almost perfectly handled by Serral. As you said, like, the moment there's action in multiple places, very often you slip up with the Banelings, but he actually didn't detonate the Banelings anywhere. He even microed back the single drone that was targeted in his main base, and Mineral walked it through the other drones. That was some really good defense. Not a single drone died. That means that Serral mined a little bit more and is slightly ahead now.
Yeah, really, I mean, pristine defense, right? Just really sick stuff and very difficult to pull off properly. As we do see the Rotron on either side, the lair building up from both players, and missile upgrades have started too, and it really feels as though just gonna get into some Roach versus Roach for, I guess, the first time off of an even footing, more or less. I mean, I know Serral's got a slight lead, but, you know, for the most part, it's going to be nothing that, you know, suddenly Serral can move across the map and end the game with, right? So, we are going into that. Serral just going to get his Overlord speed up as well. Obviously, up to spread those Overlords out and continue to set that up, and obviously maybe save the Overlords if Mutilas suddenly show up as well. And just scouting too, into the main.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Reynor actually did a cute move where he, first of all, he hit the Baneling Nest, so Serral might have thought that it was a Roach follow-up, but then he also hit the Evo chamber behind his natural, and he still managed to deny Serral from ever scouting, so Serral has no idea that there is an Evo chamber on the way. He just, I think, saw the drone, the amount of drones now. Obviously now he knows, but before he just saw that the Roach one was a little bit late. But if you just see a Roach one on the wall like this, very often it might be a hatchery tackle in.
Mm-hmm.
Serral, though, too good to fall for those kind of tricks, and still went into the Overlord speed, as you said, and droned up to 66. Both players taking a fourth base, and I'm excited because this is a super standard ZvZ.
Yeah, super standard, and really comes down to just the moves and the skills of the guys kind of from this point. It's not going to be mind game, it's going to be real mechanics and strategy. From here on out, a lot of links still in production from Reynor, as Serral has a few more kind of coming out here, but it's going to pull them back now. The Overseer of Serral trying to get a bit more info on the third base, but won't do much. And obviously the couple of Banes still from Reynor leading the charge forward. But it should be all about Roaches from here on out. And both players are also going to get that Carapace upgrade going through, as the Lings of Reynor at least, though, do catch a couple of the Roaches. Trying to morph in Ravagers here. Tries to blow them up. And will just about get them in the end. But it kind of cost him a lot of units to get those couple of Ravagers cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, cancelled is the main word here. You basically kill a Roach and a little bit of what it costs more for Ravager.
Yeah.
But he lost a lot of links for it, and he also made a lot of links, which is a lot of larva. That's the reason he's floating money right now, is purely because he spent larva on making these Zerg links instead of Roaches. So yeah, a little bit of a better trade here for Serral.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking a little better, but it's against the little things at the moment, right? It's not a massive overhauling thing, as we do see Roach and Burrow. So sorry, Roach speed, Burrow movement and Burrow, and that's going to be the combo from Serral to try and add a bit of harassment to this, right? So Reynor's going to be not able to do as much as Serral will be able to, as Serral moves the Roaches into position. Obviously, at this point, both players have Overlords everywhere. And Serral even has an Overlord dropping Roaches in the main, which is going to come through, and it's going to be a Queen kill nice and quickly. And he's already starting with this harassment, which he's going to try and use to take a bit more of a lead in the game.
Yeah, and this is so annoying, because at the moment the Queen is picked off, the Roaches need to stay there forever, pretty much. Because the Overlords can come back at any moment, or is not in risk of dying at all. And I think the reason he didn't see this, even though he spotted it twice, this drop Overlord, is because in ZvZ there's this difficulty where good players always, you can see patrolling Overlords everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you actually need to actively look everywhere to try and check if any of these Overlords is actually a drop Overlord, which is super hard to do, because there's also other stuff going on, so.
Yeah, you gotta be like all over the map, like all the time. It's like ridiculous because obviously at any point it could just become a drop load as well, right? So that's another queen kill, and that's gonna be the natural dequeened as we now see Reynor in the center. Not a fight Serral wants to take right away here. Serral is also a little bit later on that carapace upgrade, even though he just finished +2. So not really a fight he wanted to take just yet, as maybe he can hold the center. The Lings of Reynor still trying to prove to be an issue as they get into the third, but Serral actually has a Baneling here to help chase them away. They're going to continue running to the natural. Serral's taking a big fight in the center, and Reynor wants to get away, but it has to go through a choke point, and that costs you a lot of extra damage taken.
Yeah, and if you look at the resources lost at this point, Reynor has been trading much worse than Serral. This is why no one wants to play these games against Serral. It's simply because over time he just is that little bit better at everything, and he will take those trades again, chasing down the Ravagers into the little gap in the middle of the map, and picking up more units for free.
And just roach harassment everywhere, right? Like during this, he had roach harassment in the main and the natural, and he's still keeping some of these roaches alive, which is typically what happens because you start looking elsewhere. You look in the main fight as Reynor, right? I think the big thing is Reynor's little Ling run by killed what, like maybe a queen? And that was about it. Like maybe he caught a roach as well, but he didn't get any drones of his own. So now he's down heavily in workers, and Serral has been trading way better throughout. This is a fight which Serral doesn't actually want to be in. He just wants to get away from that very quickly. He wasn't quite the position he wanted. He still has roaches here, there, and everywhere, though, and he's still burrowing them around. And Reynor's just running around the map trying to deal with that.
Yeah, that fight just now was the first thing that went well for Reynor this game, I feel like. Where Serral was a little bit overeager and didn't retreat early enough, but Serral, behind these resources that he has been mining more and trading better, he puts these into further tech, so he's getting further advantages, because if you just stay on roach versus roach, you might have a big bank, but yeah, you don't really transition your lead into anything that can close out the game.
Run a corrosive balls here, of course. These are the sort of fights where maybe Serral struggles, perhaps just like a little bit to really kind of end the game, right? Because you kind of find Roach Ravage on Roach Ravage. Your opponent has the position. You can see the spread here from Reynor's very good. And obviously you have to both keep backing away from corrosive files all the time. But Serral's happy to take these fights because he's mining so much more. So as long as he doesn't lose one of these fights really badly, which he shouldn't do because he can just back away and use Bowels to help him back away, he's going to get a few shots off on Roaches there. As long as he can back away from these, he's fine because he's mining off 20 extra workers, so he can always rebuild more than Reynor. The only threat is if Reynor does get maxed out, his standing army would be larger, and maybe one fight would be better. But then again, the rebuild's going to be nowhere near as good.
Exactly, and that's also the reason why Serral is still attacking, moving out, and trying to take on the other side of the map. So his reinforcements will actually come back here. He doesn't want to let Reynor get maxed out, and right now Reynor doesn't have that many roaches in front of his Ravagers anymore. So I think Serral has done it this game. He's breaking through to the Ravagers on the top side. And I mean, at this point, you can't really turn around anymore as Reynor. There's a +3 attack on the way for Serral. He is still standing his ground here in this fight, but surely eventually over time this should end up okay.
There's no way, right? Because Serral's just getting a few more reinforcements slowly arriving. All of these Ravagers from Reynor feel like they're very low HP as well, so they start to go down very quickly if they ever get, engaged onto. Serral burrows up for a second, but Reynor really wants to keep on fighting. But yeah, the numbers will trail off in the end, and Reynor will type GG to give Serral a game 3 of this series. And Serral will go up 2-1 in our best game number 4. As we go into Pillars of Gold, another one of the new maps here for this ZvZ, as once again trailing in the series in the top right is our blue Zerg player from Clash. It is Reynor.
And in the bottom left is the red Zerg player for Team Ants, Serral.
Alright, well, I'm going to ask you. Talk to me about Pillars of Gold.
Sure. So this map is extremely open, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like, even if you look at the third base, there's not even, I wouldn't even call this an entrance or a choke point.
Yeah.
Yeah, both third bases just super open, so this is one of these maps where you're not gonna see standard roach play against Muta succeed. So there's this triangle of roach all-ins and Nidus worms beating Muta beating the standard roach, and the standard roach beating all the all-ins. So again, we might see some Muta here, or in general some mind games. Usually, I think the highest level of players will more often go Muta than the other two options, because if you scout everything correctly with the Mutas, you can actually defend everything, but you need to be super on top of your scouting, so I'm expecting at least one of the two to go Muta on this map, to be honest.
Okay, so it's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors map than some of the others, with the build orders and what kind of works out. That always makes it interesting. Yeah, you know, it's funny, because I actually feel like I never really quite realized how open the third base is. And you're right, like, this one to the top or bottom of the map is, like, very open, and also kind of two different entrances into it. And the other third base also has entrances into it on every angle. Like, okay, one way you have to kill rocks, but, like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. I take it Protoss aren't going to like this map very much.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. They don't actually veto it so far against me, but I would think it is a very good Zerg map.
Okay, that's interesting as we get ourselves into this fourth game. Then, of course, we'll wait to see if we do indeed see some mutas and maybe some rock, paper, scissors of build orders here to try and counter mutas or so. Fourth map of this best of 5 big hype match. Of course, the winner of this gets to move through to the winner match, which is going to be against either Zest or Drogo. Now, just a quick update, as far as I'm aware, those guys did already start playing, just because it is like 3 AM in Korea right now. So we're going to play the first 2 series of this group at the same time, and that means that then we can cast the winner match, the losers match, and the decider match back to back without having to delay any further, or like run the winners and the losers at the same time, because I think that would suck a little more than missing the PvP. So just a quick update on all of that. As you see, third hatchery is down, link speed's coming up, and Serral will be the one to start with a slightly faster bane nest, but Reynor is only a second or so behind.
Yep, so far pretty standard stuff. And I actually think both of them are favorites to get out of this group. Oh, of course, Zest is very strong, so I think both of them have a good chance, especially it's super late for Zest and stuff, but I think they will still try their absolute hardest here, because I think this is a match about honor for them. Especially for Serral to show that he is still the best European Zerg or foreigner in general, which none of the players are doubting. But the experts on Reddit sometimes...
They Reddit experts. Don't worry, I'm sure the YouTube commenters on this video, when it comes around to being on YouTube, is going to be the same. There's some good fun to read sometimes, but sometimes I try and engage with conversation with them too, and it's just like, it's a lost cause, man. Like, they have theories that I can't even comprehend. That's how smart they are.
No, that's a completely new thing for me. I actually never read YouTube comments, so...
Well, it's just because, like, I try and reply to the guys that are nice, but you have to go through the rest of it. There's going to be Melee from Reynor, so he's the one that's going to make his way towards mutas, and this is obviously a missile upgrade from Serral. Do you think, so, well, from what you're telling me earlier, is Serral then going to try and do something aggressive to end the game? Or does he just have no choice here, and he just ends up playing kind of the worst style in a way?
Yeah, I think he's just gonna play standard here. Usually if you go for the early +1 and the Roach Warren isn't down yet by 4 minutes, you can't really punish the Muta play. There's also one thing here to notice, is that Reynor actually went for a +1 melee right away before the lair, which got scouted, which makes the Muta even greedier. But at the same time, this will look like a standard Roach opener now to Serral, because usually if you want to go Muta, you go lair first. So there are some mind games going on here from Reynor, so I don't think Serral is expecting anything yet, unless he would see these gases at Reynor's third base go down. I think it's a good opening for Reynor so far. Yep,
gases of Reynor are going to be building up. Can Serral see that? He does get to see one of them off to the side. Is that enough of a scout for him?
Nah, I'm not sure. If he saw that there were no drones on the mineral line, that would have been it. But
okay. Yeah, he really just saw the edge, right? Like.
Yeah.
He's even lucky to see the fact there's a gas building. He's going to go for a Spire of his own.
He's smelling it. He's smelling it.
So he's going to go Roach Corruptor.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can do, I think, on a map like this.
Okay. So this is basically one big timing of Roach Corruptor. Corruptors just don't scale well over time against mutas, but the first kind of power push they can do pretty well. It's just, once you start getting overwhelmed with your Corruptors, you never really get to reinforce, because you never get to pull away from a fight against mutas, so... it becomes a little bit tough, so it's going to be one big timing from Serral to try and take this down, as Reynor runs in with the +1 melee lings, and so far has microed well against the Banes, and Serral is going to lose his third hatchery, which is obviously really bad for him. That's going to make his life a lot more difficult in affording everything he wants to get up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much game. Okay, I don't wanna kill the hype of the cast, of course, but
Yeah.
that's really bad. So in order to make this corruptor timing work, you kind of need the same gas income as the Muta player, because you need the gas for the corruptors right away. So you, as you said, the corruptors don't scale and they can't escape. So you want enough corruptors to one-shot the mutas, and then behind that you just mass roaches and attack right away. But now that's kind of gone. So he needs to play a macro corruptor, which can only be defensive, and I'm not sure what that would even transition into. But that's like he basically needs to turtle on 3-base now with corruptors.
Well, it's gonna be a bit of a tough one to figure out. Then, as Mutas are already picking off some overlords here and there. The fact they're already on the map and moving across. Well, the first corruptor's on the way, but yeah, Reynor has picked off that third and put himself in prime position to maybe take us to a game 5. Mutas of Reynor are going to fly in, and they're going to get straight on top of this overlord, so takes down an overlord of Serral here, and then just more damage done, right? Serral getting close to being supply blocked, has to make sure he's got plenty of overlords on the way in case he loses more. And obviously a little afraid to actually get his 4th base down as well, just too early, just in case it gets insta-cancelled by the Mutas showing back up.
Yeah, I wonder how he's gonna plan on defending that base. I actually thought he would have stayed on 3-base for a little bit longer.
The Mutas come in, and they'll already start to show some annoyances here. The Spore's actually on the top side of the hatch, so the mineral line, a bit barren, but Reynor's also respecting the... Maybe not even just the fact he doesn't even necessarily need to dive in for so many workers, as long as he keeps the Muta count up. Doesn't want to get those caught or cornered in by corruptors or anything, as he'll come back around this side. There's only 3 queens here, and the corruptor's on the way across. If you get a queen before he has to leave, of course, just an extra bit of damage already done. I think he looks at the corruptor count and he doesn't really respect that at all, so he's going to go back in on it. The Spore gets a few shots at least, and in the end, Reynor decides maybe not the fight he wants.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's basically just about finding the hole in Serral's defense. But usually the way this plays out is that the defensive Zerg eventually gets Lurkers and Vipers, right? So eventually the Mutas don't trade anymore. But that's just not the case here. So he basically is playing a game where he can try to find holes of his opponent, and even if he doesn't find them, he wins. So it's, I mean, that sounds like a great deal to me.
Yeah, it's like if you find the mistakes, you win. If you don't find the mistakes, you probably win anyway. Yeah, mineral lines are about to get blown up on this side and the bottom side, so I think on both parts of this is looking pretty good for Reynor. And we go to a game 5 in the series, which we kind of expect to go to the winner's match. One of them will get the chance. The other will go to the elimination match, of course. It's not the last we'll see of them today. This is a dual elim group. As we go to game 5. Top right, starting off, is the red Zerg Serral.
And bottom left, his opponent, the Italian Zerg Reynor.
Alright, so 5th map, Eternal Empire. How happy were you when they announced that Eternal would stay in the map pool instead of Purity?
Pretty happy until I realized that I will probably veto it anyways against both Protoss and Terran.
Oh, really?
Because the new map pool is way better for Zerg than the old one. So in the old one, you would see this every time against Terran. But I think it's a Terran favored map in TvZ. Whereas the new maps, I think the only Terran favored map might be Submarine.
Yeah.
So at least in a best of 3, I would veto this anyways. However, Purity was legit garbage, so I'm happy it's out.
Yeah, I was just, well, you just didn't see it very much because it always favored one race more than the other, so much so, right? So
yeah,
it just like, there was, and then I feel like when we did see it, it was just like, it wasn't fun to watch, you know? So, or we saw it in like a mirror matchup, and then it goes into like this long drawn out game because you actually just can't kill each other, and it's like, yeah. Initially I was kind of sad because I was like, oh, Eternal again, because I think Eternal is a good map, but I also feel like because we see it in what feels like almost every best of 3 lately, I felt like it was time to see something new, but I'm actually not so bothered. Especially if we're maybe going to see it a bit less in other map pools now because of the new maps maybe being a bit better and Eternal becoming a veto for certain races.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think in general it's better to not have a map in the map pool that's just always a veto. It just takes away the diversity of...
Yeah, that's very true as well. I'm impressed that Golden Wall actually makes it in so much still. You know, it's probably like, this is almost like a cliche thing to say now. It's like Golden Wall's like the different map that actually kind of worked a bit. And
Yeah.
people actually play it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect example for people that constantly complain that pro gamers would just like 3 Cloud Kingdoms or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't mind the maps that are different as long as they're not completely favoring one race. The problem is usually these maps that are super weird are super heavily favored for one race or another. For example, Purity was terrible for Zerg in every way. Like, there was no way of counterattacking. You couldn't even take a fort base against Terran. Like, I'm not sure like what we're supposed to do on that map.
Yeah, it was definitely an adventure. Reynor is starting the Bane Nest in the back of his main, and Serral is not going to go for a Bane Nest just yet. Is there something of a mind game going on here? Okay, Serral's also going to start the Bane Nest a bit later in the back of his main, so he might just be okay against this potential aggression of Reynor.
Yeah, so Serral went for the standard Bane Nest timing. Reynor is all-inning. I think the reason that the Bane Nest is not in the wall is because he wants to wall later with like a Creep Tumor and then Evo Chamber Roach Warren. But this is a fake 2-base build again from Reynor, similar to what he did on the first map, but this time it is not from pool first, and this time Serral did not cancel Bane Nest yet. However, Serral did want to go for a lair already, so he's not going to have as many Banelings. At the very least, he will need to cancel the hatchery. There's already Banelings.
Yeah, 2 Banes already moving through. He will just wall off. He cancels the 3rd base, which will give Reynor the advantage there. 2 Queens behind this wall. Well, is this just... You just not go for this at all as Reynor? I feel like you should at least try and take a wall down, right?
I think if he... I think the problem is that he didn't see when the Banelings were morphing in. If he actually just exploded the Banelings on the wall, the game was over.
Yeah, because he can jump on the Banes very quickly. And,
yeah. There's just nothing. But now it's kind of a 2-base Muda against a 3-base setup, which I think I wouldn't mind Serral's position, to be honest. They're actually going Muda against Muda. No, this is going to be great.
So, so this is obviously a bit weird because obviously Reynor's going to have a slightly later Spire. But Serral does have, you know, a later gas on the 3rd base perhaps. So is that going to be... Because I feel like maybe this is still actually just a bit better for Serral, just the fact slightly faster Spire to begin with anyway. Is the gas income on that 3rd going to make a difference as well? I'm just asking you, I suppose.
Yeah, it would need to make the difference, but he actually didn't take the gases yet, so it's not gonna. Yeah. But I think it's because he doesn't have the drones to saturate it. Even if you just have more mineral income though, sometimes you can transition a Zergling lead into what later becomes a Mutalisk lead because you will get some, maybe catch some drones with it and for some drones off mining gas a little bit later on from your opponent. But Serral is also ahead on the Ling upgrade. Now we see with the gas that they both have in the bank that Reynor has mined less gas as well. So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think the Serral is ahead in pretty much every way possible.
Yeah, Reynor just a bit too much committed early and not quite enough gained out of it. Maybe if he had, you know, took those gases immediately for the 3rd base finish, and maybe then he gets the gas difference. So yeah, this is a bit rough because you mentioned the upgrade as well, and that's obviously big as he actually gets a good Baneling connection here, Serral already, and pushes those Zerglings of Reynor back away, back out down to the bottom left side.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's always possible to catch up in Muta versus Muta fight. All you need is one run by that your opponent doesn't see. The thing with Muta versus Muta is that there's a massive defender's advantage. Like if like two or three Mutas difference of you having them more and the other ones of your opponent being on the map can make all the difference. But so far everything is looking fantastic for Serral, who also starts his +1 flyer carapace right away. Now Reynor actually managed to get one advantage, which was he managed to get over 60 drones right away, so he will have considerably more minerals that he's mining right now, so maybe he can get a Spore and an earlier fort base or something like that.
Yeah, maybe play just a bit more defensive with these Mutalisks and then obviously see where the long game takes you. For the moment, he's just going to start his own flyer carapace. Obviously that creates some timings here where Serral will absolutely want to find, some times where Reynor will not. Serral's going to be starting to pick up. He's actually going to find some drones here, so that advantage might disappear, but you don't really want to take a Muta fight because, you know, even just the fact that your reinforcements aren't across here could make the difference in this. So Serral will back off and wait a little bit longer. Worker counts even out now, and it will be the slightly faster 4th from Reynor, but Serral really isn't far behind him on that.
Yeah, now he just got 9 drones. Those were mineral drones, well, and at the same time, Serral took a very good Ling fight on the left side of the map. So, yeah, the one thing that he had going for him, which was the higher Zergling count, also disappeared now. So it's gonna be extremely hard for him to secure this fort base. I wouldn't mind seeing Serral go back for a little bit, and then as you said, the moment he has that carapace, I think that's when he's gonna look for a fight.
Yeah, he's going to lose an Overlord here, and Serral will be momentarily supply blocked by that. But yeah, the fourth base is going to be alright. It's already, what, like half health, I think, by the time it finishes. It's going to be a little bit higher than that, but it also has Lings underneath this, and there's the +1 flyer carapace, so you just can't really fight this. It just affects the glaive bounces so much. Reynor's just going to keep on going. He thinks if he loses the fourth base, he's maybe going to be in too much trouble, and he really wanted to defend that, but then it's kind of, it's the worst of both worlds. He tries to defend it, and he doesn't. And because he tried to defend it, he then loses the Mutalisk count, which obviously wasn't a good trade for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there was no good call to be made there. Either you sack it, or you try to defend it. He tried to defend it, and in this case, this was even worse than just letting it go, because he also took a bad trade on top of it. But now he needs to do some counter damage. Now there is Zerglings of Reynor. They're going towards Serral's base, but Serral actually doesn't have that much in the main base.
Yeah, maybe a few more drone kills, and then maybe, he killed obviously a bunch of drones of Reynor Serral just before, right? So then maybe he has these few extra Lings to make something happen, and maybe another run by can give him the advantage. Serral just sees the Mutas though, and at this point Serral is up just 7 Mutalisks, and this is his side of the map as well, and Reynor, he's just going to turn around and fight this, but again, it's not really a fight you want to be taking. He's now down by 10 Mutalisks just to show how bad these last couple of moments have gone for him, and yeah, he's got a couple extra in production. Big thing is that at least the Lings are going to come in and stop the rich Vespene gas base from mining, but that's a very limited effect.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I mean, this is a rich gas, so every single time he actually does get to mine from it, he gets further and further ahead. Right now, he's actually really struggling with the mineral income, because like he won't even be able to afford mutas, because I think he's mining more gas. No, okay, he's still mining more minerals than gas, but he also needs to make overlords and stuff.
Yeah. Maybe gives Reynor a bit of a chance. Serral is
doing a really great job. Like he forced the mutas to the right, and because he had the Ling advantage, he managed to take another good fight on the left-hand side. And now Serral needs to actually split up his mutas, which is you never really want to do.
No, he's actually having a bit of a rough time, right? And actually now the mutas of Reynor have gotten past. Okay, they're gonna miss each other. So Serral takes damage but keeps his rich Vespene alive. He does turn around. He sees the mutas out here now, so there's obviously big opportunity for him to cancel this, or get the fourth base of his opponent. But maybe just doesn't want to let this go to a weird scenario, as he's going to come chasing down these mutas, which will just continue to run on away. Reynor takes a bit of a supply lead, though. Again, he continues to stay up in drones, and that might just make the difference in the Lings. And if you're making the difference in the Lings, that's where Reynor's getting some of these chances. Still has to be careful about the Mutalisk, though, as Serral backs away from the fourth, but he still chases these mutas a long way. You cannot fight against the queens naturally because of the defender's advantage that gives you, the transfusions and the damage output.
I really think Serral might be overestimating Reynor's drone count, and that's why he's trying to be so aggressive with the mutas. If he just took a second and made a couple extra drones so he can actually spend his gas into more mutas, and then fortify at home with maybe a spine and some defensive banelings, because he is that far ahead in the muta count and has an extra upgrade, he's completely fine. But I think he's actually mining, he thinks he's mining a lot less than Reynor, so he feels the need to attack, which opens up his fourth base over and over again for these Zergling counterattacks.
And these Zergling counterattacks have been the issue as well. This one gets cleaned out by the Banes, and that's a pretty big moment because now he can focus on the muta fight. He has his own Lings in the natural of Reynor. I mean, this is obviously just a mess of glaives firing off against each other, but Serral just has that much more, and that is just how decisive a muta count will be. Really, really, really good effort by Reynor, because he should have been, in all circumstances, dead before now. But Serral is able to hold on in there, eventually gets the win, because Reynor just stayed in for so long against this. Serral will advance to the winner's match, though, in the end.